What if you could help others to find the power to heal themselves? Physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
When I started teaching my classes, it was in 2002, and I was just doing the past life regressions and contacting the subconscious part. But then as the time went on and we found how powerful this was and what we could do with it, a lot of the students began saying, you know, advanced past life regression doesn't really tell what it's all about. This is so much more than that. We think you should change the name. So it was a few years ago we decided to change the name to Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. And this is the healing technique that we've now been teaching it, well, since 2002, that's 12 years.
What if you could time travel with them? Visit mythical places or angelic realms, other worlds, other galaxies. Help others to speak to their higher selves. You can. Dolores has taught thousands of people from across the world how to use QHHT, and now you can learn her method by going directly to dolorescannon.com. And don't forget to mention the discount code MORETALKS.
Established over 100 years ago, Watkins Books is one of the world's oldest and leading independent bookshops specializing in esoterica. We have the widest selection of esoteric books in the UK, and our friendly and knowledgeable staff are here to assist you in a unique ambience of our shop. So come and visit us in the heart of London as we're open every day.
The More Show is supported by Mindscape, Paranormal and UFO Matrix magazines, available for download on all major digital platforms. The comments and views expressed on The More Show are those of the people that make them and do not necessarily reflect the view of Kevin Moore, The More Show, or this radio station and its affiliate or sponsors. This show is for entertainment purposes only.
Broadcasting from the UK and across the world online. You're now watching the UK's only alternative late night talk show. And I'm your host, Kevin Moore. For the next hour, I'll be covering subjects that will open up your mind and provide you with information you may have never heard before. On today's show, I'm joined with Holley Kelley, who is a gerontologist, journalist and fellow in thanatology, death, dying and bereavement, and author of Sunrises and Sunsets, final affairs forged with flair, finesse and functionality. Now Holley sets out to close the gap on advanced care planning and open the dialogue on death discussions in a written work that would appeal to adults of all ages. She admits to do more and encourage transcendence towards personal peace and stir new enthusiasm for the present. From creating a bucket list, completing advanced directives, planning your own funeral, completing your family tree to writing heartfelt letters to loved ones, and so much more. Sunrises and Sunsets is both a unique and invaluable book aimed at helping readers take stock in every detail surrounding their own future destiny in a fundamental approach. Holley Kelley, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's my honor to be your guest this evening.
Yes, and it is a lovely to have you on. I think, when it comes to death and the dying process, we find it, most of us find it very difficult to talk about, don't we?
Very much so. And as much as society is evolving in so many different directions, medically, technologically, death is still that challenging topic. It's still considered taboo.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I think even as a child growing up, it was not talked about in school ever, I don't think.
Yes, and a lot of people feel compelled to protect children from the conversation of death. and death experiences and dying. And I think that it is important that children understand death because it is part of life. And I think it's very important that children be told the truth about someone or losing a pet or something that they love and care about on their level, in their area as far as their chronological age and their behavioral advancement. And so it is important to consider the child and where they're at and try to meet them where they're at in life and have that conversation.
Absolutely. That just raises loads of points. Now, the reason I wanted just to bring that into the conversation straight away was just to lay some foundation about what this potential, the direction that this interview is going to go in. But I'm gonna put it straight back, and I want to know a bit about yourself to begin with. Now, I believe you grew up in you would say nowadays you're more spiritual than religious.
I would say that I am extremely spiritual personally, and it's probably not something that if you didn't know me very well, you may not know that about me, but I am extremely spiritual in tune with what the world and our path and what we're trying to learn and how we should be growing. And so spirituality is a very important part of my life, yes.
Right. Okay. Now, obviously, I suppose, yeah. Okay. Like growing up and being, if you just take yourself back to being at home and being a child and stuff. What was what was the household like in a sense? What was that? Were the parents very spiritual? Were they religious? What was it? What was that path for you like?
I think that growing up, my life was a combination. And I think I had a very good balance. So while I did attend church and different churches, which I think really expanded my horizon on a religious and a spiritual level, and I recognized that there were so many beliefs that I could hold in so many different religious genres. And so I think that I probably ended up becoming more on a spiritual level because it would be hard to choose. There is wonderful facets in all religions that you can find value in.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you're actually in, am I right here saying Alabama?
Correct.
Right, okay. I've seen Alabama in the movies and stuff. It looks absolutely amazing. I always love that movie, Sweet Home Alabama.
Yes.
I don't know if it's like that where you're based right now, if it's Alabama as in the big city and stuff. Well,
it's beautiful here, and it's a great place to grow and to have a profession. And so right now, I don't know what you are like where you're at, but we're having a mild winter right now, so it's even better.
Right. Okay. I just wanted to add that in there, that where you are as well, and the work that you're doing in the States. Okay. Well, let's move this forward a little bit here. What led you to going in the direction you've gone in? Because obviously, you've done. Am I right to say you've done your PhD as well?
I am a Master of Science in Gerontology. I am a Credentialed Professional Gerontologist and a Fellow in Thanatology. And I guess if I had to define how I got here, I think it was just listening to life cues and recognizing where my talents were and where I wanted to grow in those directions. And I've always been able to relate well to those older than us and the older generations. So becoming a gerontologist was something that was a natural path. And I think that my focus in the arena of end-of-life initiatives and preparing for life's final destiny and helping people age and enhance their aging experience is how I opened the door to the thanatology studies.
And just very briefly, what is, if you could summarize very quickly, thanatology and gerontology? Okay,
so gerontology is somebody that studies aging and the problems and issues of the aged. And it's a very diverse field. There are people serving in the field of gerontology from so many different arenas. And a thanatologist is somebody that has an understanding of the bodies of knowledge as it relates to death, dying, and bereavement.
Okay, thank you for that. And one question I really wanted to ask you as well was, what sort of material have you sort of absorbed in the spiritual books, in a sense? What were some of your sort of favorite books?
Well, I spend a lot of time reading academic books. I actually very much enjoy quotes, and those I find extremely inspiring. That is why you will find so many quotes in the book. And Deepak Chopra, I love his work. So I think that I just find inspiration in a lot of different arenas. And I also look around and find inspiration in life and the beauty and bounty that is around us.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so now, what was the purpose then for writing Sunrise and Sunsets?
There were actually three. I mean, I began writing the book because it was important to me to help people plan and implement advanced care planning, their advanced directives specifically. And then it grew. It grew into me trying to design what I felt was more than just advanced directives and a last will and testament. So as a gerontologist, I came up with what I believe to have been comprehensive advanced care planning. And so that was one goal in the book. The second goal was actually to ease the reader's fear about what is to come and what is to come to all living things. And so it was important for me to help alleviate their concerns about dying, and by proper planning and implementation of their wishes, I think that the book definitely accomplishes that, in that because they're prepared and now they're not living as much in fear. And of course, my third goal in the book was really encouraging people to live their best life now and take each day as the beautiful gift that it is. So it was so important for me to make this book about planning for the end, but absolutely make it a journey for inspiring new beginnings.
Yes, yeah, and what is your understanding, your truth on what happens when we pass on?
Wow, that's a big question. And I say in the book, everybody's beliefs are different. It varies from culture to culture and all around the world. And I address, we don't really know what happens when we go to the other side, because other than near-death experiences, we don't have people coming back and giving us full-fledged reports. And so I think we are all captivated by reading stories of folks that have passed away and had experiences. And we're interested in that conversation because it remains the universal human mystery that we seek out to better understand.
Yeah, yeah, and if you look at, and I'm sure you have researched a lot of near-death experiences, somewhat, all this wealth of knowledge and teachings that they bring back with them, it's really quite amazing, the transformations they go through as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes, do you have thoughts in that area?
Yeah, I mean, as I bang on about here sometimes on my on this show, I channel. I've been channeling for the past year, and it's really given me a source of my own truth that I've always been looking for, and it's given me too much proof as well, which is a great thing of it. And it tells me that when we cross over, there are many levels, infinitive levels to move on to, and that we go back home to a place that we've come from before, and we choose our reality when we cross over. And that we get to meet our loved ones, we get to potentially choose to come back again. There's a lot of the information that's come my way is what's been told to me through channeling. So it seems that we have chosen to come into this life to have an experience with for ourselves and others. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that resonates with you.
Well, absolutely. And we all certainly are eager to have that conversation. And I read all kinds of accounts where people have had those experiences, and a loved one might have even been there, and it was somebody they didn't even know in their family existed. And so those really resonate, because you recognize that the person that had this near-death experience didn't even know about that family member. The family had kept it from them, perhaps even a sibling that came before them that died in utero and was there on the other side. So those experiences are captivating, they're uplifting, and certainly most encouraging for faith-based individuals that are hoping that that's what happens.
And do you think your book can appeal to someone that's got a religious background as well?
It was very important to me to make this book. That was one of the biggest obstacles. How do I make this book one size fits all with a diverse society of so many different values and venues and beliefs? And I did recognize the one commonality, that is that we are all aging together as a society. This is something that we are doing from infants to centenarians. We are aging. And so it was so important to me to address that this is the universal experience that we share together, and another one will be dying. There's an individual experience, of course, but it is our destiny for each of us and all living things. So I did try hard and work diligently to make this book about what its purpose was, and not about any specific belief systems, but in fact encouraging all belief systems.
That's very beautiful. And did you get to spend time around those, in hospice or palliative care, in a sense, where they are, they know they're going to pass away?
Well, I've had a extensive background and careers where I have served the elderly. I was involved in management and healthcare for a period of time, and home healthcare specifically. So it was always interesting to be able to hear some of those stories that the nurses would come back and tell. And so I have had over my life course a lot of interaction with the older population, and I find them captivating, and I think that they are much needed and are relevant and amazing contributors to our society.
Having been around them, what would you say some of their biggest fears are when it comes to dying?
When it comes to dying, I think it depends on the individual. Some fears are, what will this do to their family? If they're the patriarch of the family and they've always been the dynamic center of the family that brings that family together and keeps that family close and keeps that family tethered, I think that that would be something that would be sad and challenging to deal with. And the book helps address that, because you talk about family traditions that you want to keep in your family, and how you want those to be prevalent and continue to define your family's uniqueness. I think also the fear is the great unknown, because we just don't know what happens. We certainly have hopes, and everybody has their own unique ideas and all of that, but I think that that is a concern. And I think that people don't want to feel pitied. And so it's so important to get your affairs in order and have everything done, because the experience isn't as traumatic, and it is looked upon differently when all of your affairs are in order. Not only are you more prepared, but your family is put in a really good place to experience the next phase of life.
And do you think, after having this experience as well, that those in the dying process just want to be listened to as well? They want to tell their stories.
A life review in one's final days is extremely important, very important, therapeutic, healthy. And that's an important part of the book. In the third section, It is the All About Me section. And you share your life story. You share things in there that perhaps your family may not even know about because the questions have never been asked before. And so the book is a great opportunity to define everything that mattered to you in life and to share your lessons, what you hope for the family. What were your most memorable experiences? What was technology when you were young? And so it is extremely important that those things be shared. But beyond that, the book also allows you to share family medical history, do a family tree, share relevant historical details of your family, that without this venue to be able to pass this on to those who have come after you, this stuff could actually be lost in families. So the book is able to continue to speak your story long after your departure.
That's so important, that is, because I think, when you must be reaching that stage, you don't want to be forgotten about.
No, and this book continues to be a written version of the completer's legacy. It absolutely continues to give long after you're gone.
Yeah, and you've also got in there as well, which I like, the kick the bucket list. What made you include that as well?
I think it's very important to have everybody sort of a bucket list. So the bucket list is, how do you incorporate meaningful and exciting experiences in your life moving forward and set the blueprint for living? And it's about living, and dying is the deadline. The bucket list is more about dying, and living is the deadline. And this would include anything in your past that equals regret. This would be past transgressions. This would be an argument that you had with somebody, a long-held feud, forgiveness of yourself or others, so that life can be elevated today. These sorts of things, while they do occur on one's deathbed, how wonderful that we would do it now and experience peace and tranquility now and forge that relationship all new again and fix it so that everybody can have peace.
Do you think as well, those that are passing on, or those that are close to death, be terminally ill, whatever the reason may be, in a sense, they have less regret, in one sense, or what's the word I'm looking for? They really want to. I'm losing my train of thought here, but it was something good that was coming to me just a moment ago when you were talking. It's not so much that, yes, they want to let everything out, but it's the one time where they can really be their true, authentic self.
Definitely, and I think it's easy, at the end to recognize that life is not a dress rehearsal, because death is pretty surreal. And I think when you're there, it's extremely sobering. I say there's nothing or a few things in life more sobering than a funeral, because it puts us so close to our own mortality. And so I do believe that it depends on the individual as to how they reckon with those final days or weeks of life. And many people may feel that they want to get burdens off of them and create a smoother path upon their exit. And there will also probably be those folks that say, you know what, that was my life. That's how I live. I wouldn't change a thing because it happened like it was supposed to. And I know one reader, the question in the book is posed, if you could change anything in your life, what would it be? And they thought about that question. And this gentleman said, well, I got it wrong a lot. I got it right sometimes. And looking back, I wouldn't change anything, because it was part of my journey, the journey that was intended. And so I think it really depends on the individual.
Yeah. It's almost like when you're at that stage, if you've held on to ego a lot, it's dispersed, it's dissolved because it's gone then, because what is the point anymore, and what that's I guess that's maybe where I was coming from as well, and it was I suppose when when we're dying, or when death is approaching, if we are an eternal soul, that we've come from somewhere else, that we're going back to it, death then is almost like our own version of our own suicide, in a sense.
Yes, and I mean, I think that it's important that if somebody is burdened, that they release those. But what is also important about that, and I talk about this many times in the book, is to be careful and tread lovingly with how you share that information and with whom. If it is really only intended for one specific person and maybe hurt other people, then perhaps that is information you would share in a personal letters to loved ones that you write in the book versus in the pages where other people may have access to that. What else is important is when someone is gone, the opportunity to get additional explanations and answers has also come and passed. And so I think it's so important that if you do plan on divulging or sharing, that you include as much information as possible so that the person can truly heal and not just be left with this and have additional questions afterwards.
Yeah. I mean, this is a great idea. This book, to be out, because it just allows. It's so simplicity. Well, it's so simple in a sense where you've got all these different chapters which help you, go through the process of planning the funeral, completing your advance directives, write your own, complete your last will and testimony, record all personal and business matters, and like you say, write letters to loved ones. I mean, when you're at that stage, you don't logically think about these things, do you? Sometimes.
No, and that's why I encourage people to do it now. And I actually am trying to encourage people to do that as part of their New Year's resolution for 2016, is to implement your comprehensive advanced care plannings, use the book, work it, and have the peace that evolves from that, enrich your life as a result. This is something wonderful for you, an incredible gift for those you love. But more than that, it allows your wishes to be honored. These are important things to accomplish. I mean, your after-death care services can be carried out to your desires. If you aren't completely to the point of dying, but you are extremely injured and decisions need to be made, you're able to actually implement them to your wishes through the set of planning documents and advance directives. So it's very important that people embrace doing this, not when there's a crisis, but early in life, and it's for any age and any stage, and is suitable for adults no matter where they're at in their life course.
So let me get this right. You this could have been a gift to someone, and this book, and they, no one's dying, no one's in that process, but this as a advanced planning, just for in that moment that you don't want to think about, but it could happen. Some accident that you've got it all laid out and you've got something committed.
Yes, and it's a blueprint, a roadmap for your family to pick up the pieces right away and to be able to handle your affairs to your desires expeditiously upon your passing. They're already under incredible grief, suffering from unbelievable bereavement, and for them to have to sit down and try to write an obituary, think about the details and facts that would go into an obituary and question whether they really have it right and what would you have wanted. You are removing all of that burden. Did they want to be cremated or buried, or cremated and buried? There's just so many decisions that you should be the decision maker of, for one thing, because it's your life. And the next thing is that your family is under so much burden. This is just an additional thing to saddle them with during the worst of times.
Yeah, and just remind us again. I mean, what drove you to come up with an idea like this for such a book?
Well, actually, as often happens in life, things come to you, and that was the case with this. I was culminating my gerontological studies, and it was required to do a capstone or a career experience. I'd been a lifelong writer, so I decided, okay, I'll do something that involves writing. I'll do a capstone. And I had written many papers throughout my studies about advanced care plannings, and I was always shocked and fascinated with the statistics. I remained so perplexed as to how something so important can have approximately 1/3 of people completing them, and I just couldn't understand it. And there were some areas that I researched that were challenging for people to move through this process. So I decided, okay, I'm going to try to bridge that disconnect and create a written work. And then I realized that's not going to be very interesting. I need to make this bigger and better and more appealing. And so I started thinking about all of the things that matter in your life course and all of the things that one should do and what would mean a lot to the survivors. And so the book evolved, and I turned it in. At the end of 10 weeks, this book was written. It was a 10-week course, and so I turned it in, and the director, Dr. Bonnie J. Kin of Grinnell University, wrote me an email, and she said, I don't think you know what you have done. If you ever do anything in your life, you must publish this book. And so I figured, okay, that's probably good. I think I got a good grade. That's wonderful. I was appreciative and certainly proud that she thought so favorably of it. And then what happened next was I was good in life. I was living in life's womb of complacency and comfort. And I wasn't planning on publishing the book. And then I got a phone call about a month later from a reporter that says, I'm calling to do an interview on your book. I said, my book? And she said, yeah. And I said, well, the book I turned in? She goes, yes. I said, I only turned it into one person. She said, oh, no, everybody's reading your book. So she did that story. And it was a great story. And the interview went very well. And I was still fine. And the next thing that happened was I received a letter from a stranger about a month later who had lost her 94-year-old father. And she said that this book meant so much to her, how it had restored healing, and how much her father would have loved it, and that she just really hoped I published it because she loved every page of it. And so that is when I looked up and said, I got the memo. I get it. I know what I need to do. And that's when I decided to submit it to publishers.
Well, congratulations. Now, you've got the book there. I mean, we've been putting the book on the screen, but you've got it there with you. Just show us, because it's quite a thick book as well, isn't it?
It's less than 225 pages,
okay.
But it is 8.5 by 11. Yeah. And this was a book I wanted people to engage with. My name is on the cover, but the person that works the book is the final author of this book. They make it theirs. This book becomes part of them. And so each book will be different when it's done. And as you can see in the book, it's got pictures and quotes, and it's got workbook pages. I don't know if they can see that with the lighting, but each page is something new. And I wanted readers to keep on with the process. And that is why I made each page have something fun on it, enjoyable, intriguing, resonating. It was so important for me to keep them on the journey of completing this and flipping the pages. And so the reviews so far, people are like, I love to turn the page because I don't know if it'll be funny, if it'll be serious, if it'll be deep, but it doesn't matter because I'm loving going through this book. So
that's really, really beautiful, and I love the quotes in there as well. I think that just makes it again different with the whole thing. The whole idea is different, and you do call the book a hybrid. Is it a hybridization?
A hybridized book because it is a book. It's a guidebook. It's a workbook, and so it's very different. And a lot of folks that I have interviewed with have received the book and said, I've never seen anything like this in my life. So it is more of a hybridized style book.
what would you say was, what was most fun to write about the book?
I think the most fun was I enjoy a challenge. So it was really important for me to figure out a way to make this taboo subject that nobody wanted to talk about something entertaining, and to try to put a twist on it and to ease people's comforts about this important conversation. And so what was fun was that, of course, and trying to figure that out. The second thing was coming up with quotes and putting them in the right places. There's so many different ones. One of them is, if you think nobody will ever miss you, try missing a couple of car payments. And that's in the finance section. And so there's just so many fun things that I knew if I wasn't having fun, that the readers wouldn't have a good time. And so it's extremely important for me to incorporate surprises into the book and to keep it engaging and to throw those pictures in there and all of that. So I had fun, and I think that carried into the work.
Yeah, I would say that's absolutely true. And you've also formed, let me get this right, there's an institute that you formed as well?
The Latter Life Planning Institute.
Yes, that's the one, yes. Just tell us a bit about that.
The Latter Life Planning Institute is my brand, in which I offer many things. And I do gerontology consulting, I do funeral writing, and I craft custom funeral eulogies and memorials for people, and try to really bring incredible reflection and honor to the life of someone that has passed. What I love most is when I'm working with people that are alive and well, that are healthy, and that they want to get this done for their family. So I'm not always just writing a funeral service for somebody that is a traumatic shock experience. Oftentimes I'm doing it with the individual, and we laugh and have a great time about how we're writing this and what we're saying. And I do business consulting, individual consultings, inspire aging and making it vicarious and interesting, and ensure that people are on a good track and recognize that the second half of life is extremely amazing and may very well be better than the first half.
Yeah. So absolutely, that's incredible. So I mean, you've done all, you've done your masters and everything else, and just remind me again, you've done your PhD as well.
No, I would love to do that, and I'm looking into that next.
Right, that's the next thing.
Yes.
That's the next thing on the horizon. But you've done all your degree and your masters, and look what a direction it's gone in. Could you have ever imagined, from what you've just explained with what you're doing, that your life would have gone in this direction?
Absolutely not. And that's what I think the spiritual aspect comes into it, is that we all have a gift. And I think it is so important that we recognize our gifts. It's life's treasure hunt to try to find those gifts. It's so important when you find them and identify them to grow them, nurture them, enhance them, and utilize them for the betterment of yourself and society. And I believe that if you don't use those gifts, you would lose them, and you would lose part of yourself along the way. So I think that is very, very important. And I also think that we have a lot of signs and signals and guides. And I know that I am a tough student of life. Like, I'm always learning and growing, and yet change is challenging sometimes. And so I always ask for my guides and my signals to be epically big. And I always say, do not leave me a bread trail crumb. I need loaves of bread hitting me upside the head. This is what I need to get the memo. And that's what happened with this book. And, I recognize so many people were saying, publish this. This is amazing. Don't let it sit on a shelf and collect dust. And it was just months were going by, and I knew probably, it was worthy of being published, but I was still complacent. And it was when I got that letter, tears were running down my face when I recognized how this book had served somebody else in such a positive way. And so that was my moment. And then I sent it off, and I was still only a little bit in. I was still just wading into the kiddie pool of being on board this process, because I picked my list of publishers, and I had an A list, and it was 3. And I know a lot of people send to hundreds of publishers. I picked 3. And I said, okay, I'll start with the A list, and then I'll have a B list, and then I'll have a B plus list and a B minus list. So I started with 3, and I sent it off to the publishers, 3 of them, and they say that they will not get back with you for several months. So I sent it off in late October. And oddly enough, on my birthday, another sign to me, while my mother was visiting me, which she visits a few times a year, I received a phone call from the publisher,
Wow.
which was only about 3 weeks later, that said, we want your book. So to me, that was happy birthday.
Absolutely.
And,
yeah.
Just too many things lined up in interesting ways. And I think if we're paying attention to life, life is pretty cool. And you see all kinds of things, and you're like, really? Oh my goodness.
That's incredible. And would you say the scope of the services that you offer, and the ones that you've explained as well, is that all across the US? It could be?
Yes. I mean, I officiate funerals locally and where I can get to them, but I can write funerals for people anywhere thanks to a digital era and technological advances. I'm able to capture the information needed and talk with family members. So I'm able to provide that service as well. I'm able to go into a workplace that caters to an aging demographic and help educate those that work there and better understand the best way to relate to older people. And maybe there's things they're doing that they think are helpful when in fact they may be misunderstandings of what the elderly need. And so that's an enjoyable part of my career. And just truly helping people with the end stages planning, simply because even if they're 20, 30, 50, it doesn't matter. Knowing that this is in place, I know that this is going to not just give to that person in the moment, it will continue to give to that individual when they need it, as well as nurture that family and keep that family on their feet afterwards. So it's a profession, in my opinion, that is extremely rewarding because the benefits just keep coming.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's completely of service. It really is. And yeah. So as you mentioned that you have worked with younger people as well.
Yes, and any adult that wants to take this process seriously, because what's great about the book is, as your life changes, maybe you change religious beliefs, maybe you remarry, maybe you are in a whole different place a few years after completing the book, and it's great that you've evolved in life, and the book can evolve with you and change with you. You simply change the information, update the information, and so this book is able to grow with one on their life journey.
Yeah, absolutely. What as you experience people going through the process of completing the book, what changes do they go through once that you've been aware of, that you've seen once someone's completed this book?
I think they think it's going to be depressing. They start out thinking, I don't know if I want to do this. This is a begrudging task. And I assure them that once they get started, it won't be that way. And I think it's like everything else. A lot of things in life are easy. It's just the getting going part that's hard. And so I even say in the book, apologies are easy. It's I'm sorry. How hard is 2 words? It's just so not hard. It's leading up to that apology. What is the outcome of that apology? And so we talk about apologies and getting your things straight and how important it is that you not leave unfinished business and you resolve those things. And it's the same approach with the book, and that is that you just have to do it and get started. And I think that you'll find very quickly that it's kind of like I'm there as a literary handholder walking you through the process. I mean, I also have groups in the Sunrises and Sunsets workshops, and those can be extremely interesting because now you have lots of people together and can share their various ideas. So that's a fun way to approach the book. And an individual working it alone. will also be self-inspired as they go through the books. So I do think that there's a moment where people realize, okay, you know what, I'm going to get into this. Oh my goodness, really? They're asking about that childhood experience, and the next thing you know, you're lost in it. And the next thing you know, you're self-evaluating, well, where am I at in life right now? Am I living the greatest life I can live? And through this, it's not something that we just jump into. We take our time. It's slow in the beginning. And by the time you're through section 1, you have seen the call to action and you're on board.
Now that's interesting because, yeah, what you're saying there is once they've gone through this process, actually some people have come through it and realized that they've not been listening to their intuitive side and been actually living their life purpose, which, I know it's not easy for some people to get in tune with what that might be. I guess it's kind of starts off with doing what you love to do, but yeah, doing something like this and filling something like this out and doing this this exercise, that must be pretty amazing to see people, at that time realizing that they've still got a life purpose to live.
And not only that, they're ready to tackle it with a vengeance. And even my publicist, and I can't imagine how many books. My publisher, actually, Robert D. Reed, publisher, his wife, Cleone, was my editor. And she just embraced this book, embraced it to unbelievable degrees. She inspired me. But as she was working her way through the book, she said, wow, I think there's work for me. And I have some things to do. This is a lady that already lives extremely in touch. This is a lady that understands that every day is a gift. And even she felt that she wasn't on board to the level that she should have been. So at 70 years old, she started her bucket list. She said this book inspired her to get one. She'd always thought about it. And I just talked to her by email a couple of days ago and said, okay, you still have these things on your bucket list. She goes, no, I've done those. But she planned a trip. They just got back in December, zip-lining in Costa Rica for 3 weeks. At 70 years old with a whole group of friends. She's living in a different way. And the book helped inspire her to really get on the most adventurous side of life, the most fulfilling side. Which was a compliment to me because she was already there, in my opinion. And she still had areas she could improve on. She's pretty amazing. Beautiful lady. That is beautiful. That's pretty amazing stuff, that is. That really is pretty amazing stuff. And I suppose the book, it always seems to find the right people. It does. I think that the world seems to be ready for this conversation. And I think if you just said, do you want to talk about death? It's going to be like, no, not really. I think we'll save that for another time. But the subtitle, Final Affairs Forged with Flair, Finesse, and Functionality with a capital F-U-N, kind of lets people know what the journey's going to be. The sunrises and sunsets part, actually as a writer, I'm somebody that needs to begin with a title, even if it's a temporary title. And I needed a starting point. So I did kind of see the imagery in between sunrises being one's birth, the day in between, each day being the life lived, and sunsets being our final departure. So that's why I came up with sunrises and sunsets, and I recognize that absolutely does not indicate at all what this book is. So being a fan of alliteration, that's how the Final Affairs Forged with Flair, Finesse, and Functionality came to be. And so it all, the sunrises and sunsets stayed because people liked it. But I think that when people look at this, they recognize that this isn't going to be dull. It's not going to be dark. And that it is going to be a journey that they will be capable of. Yeah, absolutely, and I love the way you've just explained that, the whole sunrise and sunset. That's such a beautiful analogy, really is. What would you say then is potentially the most important message of this book, and of your work as well? I think the most important message is that we can't say when we'll go, but we can absolutely have a say in how we'll go. And if you've worked the book, your fears would be so much less knowing that you have put into writing. I think of parents who have children, and you've established what type of care in the event of your loss you would want your children to receive, what type of nurturing environment. If you have pets, and this is becoming huge these days, that you have outlined the type of care that you want your pets to receive, who will care for them, how will that be funded. You are able to put the type of life-sustaining treatment that you would want personally. Would you want food, hydration? Would you want to be resuscitated? Who would be making medical decisions for you? And I think that in the event something untimely chronologically happened to someone, how beautiful that you have written these letters to loved ones. And I think about a young girl who has lost her mom too early, and she is able to have these letters throughout her life course. To my daughter on her 13th birthday, sealed envelope, and this young girl gets to open that envelope on that day. To my daughter when she goes off to college, to my daughter on her wedding day. I think about how incredibly soothing that would be for that young girl, and how you are able to convey your love and wishes and be there when you're not mortally present, but you can still have a presence and enhance and affect this life that you love so much and convey your love from the other side.
Wow, that's so powerful. Yeah, that's very powerful stuff. Very powerful. And before, obviously, we're getting close to the end of this interview, but where would you like to see your work go?
I would love for people to embrace the process and do the comprehensive advanced care planning for themselves and for their family. And I would like to see it not be 30% of people that complete advanced directives. I think it should be 100%. I think it should be everybody's task and priority. So I would like to see people just really embrace this and start up groups of their own. If they can't have me come and they just want to do it on their own, I have the Leader's Guide on my website. It'll be up this week, and I would like them to access that and start a advanced care planning group, a Sunrises and Sunsets group with their book club, with their dinner club, with their spiritual or religious group, so that everybody can have the peace of mind that doing this important work gives you, and in the process live greater and more abundant on the backside of it.
Absolutely. And just remind us of your website as well.
It's www.sunrisesandsunsetsbook.com. That's a plural on the Sunrises and Sunsets, and that's AND, sunrisesandsunsetsbook.com.
Well, I just want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. And Holley Kelley, I wish you all the success with this latest book. You truly deserve it. And thank you so much for the contribution that you've made.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me as your guest and allowing me to share this work. Appreciate it.
Well, we've come to an end on tonight's show. Don't forget that you can listen and watch all our past interviews on the More Show's official YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new daily shows. You may also find out more on all past and upcoming guests on the show via themoreshow.co.uk, and do like us from Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates. So until next time, be safe.